Hey, I'm Elsa Rhae. We have been all over the place in the last week. Last week we started installing our wood-burning stove inside of the Scamp. It's looking pretty great. But in the middle of that, we had to leave for Denver to go visit Baron's family for a wedding. That was a lot of fun. We stayed at a hotel, we stayed at Baron's cousin's house, and we stayed with Hunter and Sarah. And now we are staying at an Airbnb. The Scamp is about 3 miles away, but we have to wait till tomorrow to go and get it. So that's 5 places in the last week. And on that note, one of our biggest questions when we were in Denver was, how do we feel when we leave the Scamp and we go stay in the city? So we thought that we would answer that today. The first thing we always do when we go to cities like Denver is we go to REI. We like to check and see if there's anything that we could possibly need for the Scamp, and we also like to go and see my stickers.
But this was one of the first times that we've ever gone to REI and really not needed anything.
We were looking for a shovel or snow gear or something, but aside from a water filter, we have everything that we need right now, but that might change with the winter. In a city, it's easy to find everything that we need. There's stores everywhere within a very short distance. And it's really easy to find sushi happy hours. We got sushi 3 times. We went to 3 different happy hours.
They were like 2 rolls for $8, and it was good sushi. So.
Yeah, we haven't had sushi in a long time.
So cities used to be more useful, I think, before things like the internet and Amazon and everything else began to happen. Because you used to have to go to the city to do your business or to buy things or interact with other people or get jobs, what have you. But now that the internet's a thing, that's not really the case. Like, you can work remotely, you can talk to people from all across the world, and you can get things shipped to, like we do, a P.O. box in the middle of the mountains, so we can get like anything that's available on the internet. Whenever we're driving back into Denver, there's this like one point where you really come out of the mountains and you can see down over the whole city, and stoplights become more frequent and all the highways start to split off. It induces some level of anxiety, especially when you're used to like a new basic of not high anxiety all the time. When I was in the city and having to commute to work or whatever, and I didn't really feel it then. Now that we've stepped away, to go back into that is like, wow, it's
very, very different.
Yeah, and I never would have thought it would be so drastic, you know?
The common luxuries like showers and running water and being around people and having unlimited Wi-Fi really aren't worth it.
Well, because we have most of the thing, like we have all of that accessible. Like there's nothing that I can really think of that we don't have access to that's like better.
I would say that running water, having a sink with unlimited water would be easier, but
I would much prefer a river.
Giving up the access to unlimited water allows us to live anywhere we want, out in the mountains or by a lake or in the desert. We can jump ship and move anywhere, and we don't have to pay for any utilities. And now that we don't have access full-time to unlimited data or Wi-Fi, when we do, we find ourselves just getting into everything. We'll sit on YouTube for hours. When we are in the Scamp, we tend to read more books, or we have specific movies that we've downloaded to watch in the Scamp.
Or podcasts.
So we're doing a lot more intellectual things by not having full-time unlimited access to Wi-Fi. Something also that happens whenever we're staying somewhere that isn't the Scamp is I have a tendency to spread out all of my things, whereas in the Scamp everything kind of has a place.
When I'm in the Scamp, I can clean up after you without walking around. So I can reach everything and put everything away. Whereas when we're in a place like this, it just takes a lot longer to keep all your shit cleaned up.
So it's better to have less space.
Yeah. And it's hard going into the city, even with like seeing friends and stuff, like with gifts or with when we're shopping or looking at things. It's hard to not go back to the Scamp with more crap that we don't need.
It's very hard to be diligent and disciplined in not collecting more stuff out here where it's so much more available.
It's not the having the thing that's going to give you your sort of dopamine hit or like a little bit of fulfillment. It's the act of buying it and getting a good deal, or like this thing, I couldn't buy this anywhere else, or you know, there's this like ephemeral nature to it where it's like it's gonna be cooler than it is, but it's mostly, I feel like you're mostly buying it for that moment, you know.
And then the last thing that's kind of like the biggest thing is rent. Where do we start?
Well, it came up in lots of conversations. Like, people will talk about where they're living, and then it comes up like what their rent costs, and it's crazy, especially out here in Colorado. Many people are paying upwards of $800 a person to live in different places. And people justify it, and we did the same thing when we were in KC. You justify it by what's available near you. So when we were paying like $750 for an apartment, it was like, well, that's not so bad because there's these places next to us that are $900. So you kind of like justify these astronomical expenses relative to what's available near you, which makes sense, but at the same time, all of these prices are unfathomably high, especially since you're renting and you're never going to own the thing.
$700 that we saved in 1 month in not living in the city. I bought this camera that's filming us right now. Put that towards a car in like 3 months. We don't have car payments because we paid for it in cash because we're not paying any rent. Whoops, the camera died. So it's not that rent or living in a house or an apartment is a bad thing. I understand that that is the only option for a lot of people. That's a lot of money that just disappears.
Even though that is the normal way to do it, and there aren't a lot of options available, it's just crazy that societally we're doing that.
If you want to start liberating yourself and living the life that you want, you really need to cut your expenses. So thinking about things like rent, utilities, food, and all the places that just soak up money with no real return to you and to your personal fulfillment, maybe look into how you could cut those out a little bit.
Because it's oftentimes people ask too, like, okay, how do I make enough money to do this? I think it's a lot easier to like figure out how to use less money than it is to come out of the gate and make a lot of money, you know?
Because money doesn't, I mean, it helps you, but that's not what makes you succeed in this lifestyle. Right. Time, freedom, travel, those are all the things that we found are much more success-inducing than money.
So to start sort of adopting a minimalist philosophy and being frugal and figuring out how to need less is a good place to start. And that even like in normal life, because then you don't need so much money just to stay afloat. So you can kind of like ratchet back and spend time doing the things that you love, like invest in your personal business or your lifestyle business.
And I think the final words here are that it's not that we don't like going to the city, we just intentionally choose to no longer live in the city for the sake of our own happiness. That's it. Any final remarks?
I don't think so.
If you haven't had a chance, go to normaltonomad.com and sign up for Baron's weekly newsletter. He talks about all the little nitty-gritty things that we don't get to touch on in these videos or on social media. Also, take a look at my website and grab a sticker if you're interested. I make wood stickers and vinyl stickers. And yeah, that's about it. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.